Wildlife biologists are warning about an invasive fish species that threatens to permanently alter the Great Lakes ecosystem. Scientists fear the Asian carp could collapse the food chain and wipe out a multi-billion-dollar sport fishing industry. The CBC's Colin Butler has been looking into this story for us. He joins us live from the Thames River in London, Ontario. Hi, Colin. So what can you tell us about the fish and why it has biologists so worried?
Well, Arthi, what has them worried is, honestly, its appetite. Think garbage disposal with no off switch, or a Hoover vacuum cleaner with a grudge. This thing is about 1.5 meters in length it can grow to. The adults weigh about 40 kilos, and it can eat and eat and eat about, well, half its weight in vegetation and insects. And that's what they were brought to North America to do. They were brought to aquaculture facilities so that they could clear the weeds from those ponds. We're going to give you a clip from Nicholas Mandrak. He's a professor of biology at the University of Toronto, Scarborough. And he says that these fish, when they put them in fish farms, are capable of taking those ponds and eating them right down to the mud.
In aquaculture facilities, when there's no vegetation for them to eat, they throw cabbages in and they eat the cabbages. To give you an idea of how voracious their feeding is.
Now, cabbages, it sounds like feeding hippos at the Toronto Zoo, doesn't it, Arthi? That's sort of the problem here. So what they're worried about is if these things get into wetlands, they're not just going to nibble around the edges of where all the native fish spawn, take shelter, and use as habitat for their young. They're actually going to devour the heart of it.
It's incredible to hear just how much they can consume and, of course, the impacts of that. What are Canadian wildlife officials doing to stop the invasive carp from infiltrating Canadian waters?
Well, they're going on patrol, Arthi, and they're doing it on rivers like this or on the Grand River in Dunnville, which was a place I went to with the DFO to see how they do it. It was sort of a rare close-up look. And they're doing two things. One, they're putting nets in the water, they're electrofishing, they're using traps. And one thing they're doing is they're pulling out invasive species they find. So fish like goldfish or, say, the European rudd. If you're not familiar, it's a kind of minnow with red fins that outcompetes the native species. And they're not putting those back. The native fish, the walleyes, the bass, the shad, the shiners, they're putting those back. So it's a low impact way to see what's out there. And that's the really important part, is seeing what's out there. Here's Alex Price. He's a senior biologist with the Department of Fisheries and Oceans, and he's the lead on the invasive carp program.
We haven't found a grass carp this year with our program, but that's a good sign. That tells us that there's very few, if any, grass carp in the waters that we're sampling. And the data that we do collect is still very important. It allows us to collect pre-impact fish community data, which lets us see what the fish community is in these rivers. And if grass carp were to become established, we'd have a good pre and post data set.
So pre and post data set, that's a pretty scientific way of saying they're trying to get a snapshot of before and after the bomb goes off. And that's the way these things are being described, Arthi, as ecological wrecking balls, ecological bulldozers. And for rivers like the Thames, that's connected to the St. Clair, or the Grand, that's connected to Lake Erie, which is right across the lake from where these fish are breeding in the United States, it could rewrite these ecosystems.
Some vivid descriptions there. Thanks for this, Colin. That's the CBC's Colin Butler in London, Ontario.